Hi there. Welcome to Bible Stories for Everyone. I'm so glad you've joined me today. In this series, we share stories from the Bible that hold lessons for all ages. Today's story is about Noah, a man who trusted God when no one else did. It's a story of obedience, faith, and the hope of a fresh start. So let's set sail together on this incredible journey. A long, long time ago, the earth was filled with people, but sadly their hearts were far from God. They were violent, selfish, and disobedient, choosing to live for themselves rather than for the Creator who made them. God looked down at his creation, and his heart was filled with sadness because of the wickedness that covered the earth. But in the midst of all this, there was one man who stood out, Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. He walked faithfully with God. And because of Noah's faithfulness, God had a special plan for him. Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I'm going to bring a great flood to destroy all life under the heavens. But I will establish my covenant with you. So build an ark of cypress wood and make it exactly as I instruct you. Bring into the ark 2 of every kind of animal, male and female, to keep them alive. And take enough food for you, your family, and the animals. Now, Noah wasn't a shipbuilder, and the idea of a flood probably sounded strange, especially since there had never been anything like it before. But Noah trusted God. Day after day, he and his family worked tirelessly to build the ark according to God's instructions. The ark was massive, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Meanwhile, people around them mocked Noah. "What are you doing, old man? Why waste your time on such a ridiculous thing?" They laughed. But Noah didn't let their words discourage him. He knew that obeying God was far more important than seeking the approval of others. Finally, the ark was finished, and just as God had promised, animals of every kind began to arrive. Lions, elephants, birds, and even tiny insects, all in pairs. Noah and his family guided them into the ark and stored the food they had prepared. Then, when everything was ready, God himself shut the door of the ark, and soon the rain began to fall. The rain poured for 40 days and 40 nights. The waters rose higher and higher until they covered the tallest mountains. Every living thing on the earth perished, except for those inside the ark. God's judgment had come, but so had his protection for those who trusted him. Inside the ark, Noah and his family were safe. It must have been a long and challenging time, living in a floating zoo with all those animals, but they trusted in God's promise to bring them through the storm. After many months, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah sent out a raven, and later a dove, to see if the waters had dried up. When the dove returned with an olive leaf, Noah knew it was almost time to step out onto dry land. Finally, God told Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your family, and bring the animals with you." So they stepped out into a clean, fresh world, and the first thing Noah did was build an altar to thank God for his protection and faithfulness. Then God made a promise, a covenant, with Noah and all living creatures. He said, "Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood." And to seal his promise, he placed a beautiful rainbow in the sky as a sign of his everlasting covenant. Every time we see a rainbow, we are reminded of God's mercy and his promises. What an incredible story, isn't it? So what can we learn from Noah and the flood? First, we learn the importance of trusting and obeying God, even when it doesn't make sense. Noah didn't know what a flood would look like, but he trusted God's word and followed his instructions. In our lives, we may face situations where God calls us to act in faith. Let's trust him, knowing that his plans are always for our good. Second, the story reminds us that God is both just and merciful. While he judged the wickedness of the world, he also provided a way of salvation through the ark. Today God offers us salvation through Jesus Christ, who is like the ark that saves us from the storm of sin. Finally, The rainbow teaches us that God keeps his promises. When life feels uncertain or overwhelming, we can hold on to the promises found in God's word, knowing he is faithful. So how can we live out these lessons? When God calls you to something, whether it's serving others, standing up for what's right, or making a difficult choice, trust him and obey, even if it feels hard or unusual. Remember that God's mercy is always available. No matter how far we've fallen, we can turn to him and find forgiveness through Jesus. When you see a rainbow, take a moment to thank God for his promises and for his faithfulness in your life. Thank you for joining me today on Bible Stories for Everyone. If this story inspired you, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more timeless stories from God's Word. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, trust in God, and always look for his promises. See you soon.